Welcome back. It's been a few chilly days here in central Wisconsin, mostly rain today, so it's time of the year where we're starting to turn up the thermostat in our houses. Before you do that, remember some of the things that come along with it, especially those bills that you receive in the mail afterwards. So, with that, today we're going to get into budgeting. Now, last evening, the city of Wisconsin Rapids had their special budget meeting. The introduction of the first draft, if you will, of the budget here for Wisconsin Rapids. Now, if you are not a member of our community and you follow along with this, my profile, and whether you're friends or not, this is occurring in your communities as well. And what are you doing to identify what's happening within the budget, and how is it affecting your life directly? Okay. Now, for the citizens of Wisconsin Rapids, in a community like ours that has lost industry, over the last 30 years, it has been a slow process to the point where it kind of just got, down to where it idled along to the point where now we are destroying the buildings and trying to plan the next phase of construction and what we can attract to our area. Now, I've gone over the numbers once again in previous videos about our entire population, approximately the 18,000 that we have in Wisconsin Rapids. How many individuals in our community were affected with the closure of the paper industry? There are still approximately 500 to 1,000 individuals in our community that are still employed through the paper industry, whether they're the truck drivers transporting materials back and forth to the individuals working in the converting or the recycled paper plant, even the management personnel that are associated with paying out their paychecks. They're still employed. But it's nowhere near the 12,000 that used to be completely dependent on their paycheck through our paper industry. Now, if you're a resident of Wisconsin Rapids, especially over a long period of time, it's not the first industry that we've lost. From individuals that may have remembered pre-way, individuals that built heating elements, in multiple different forms. That went belly up many years ago. Local industries like 3M out of Nakusa, they're no longer there. Port Edwards, their paper mill doesn't exist anymore. It's been gone for almost 20 years now, and the community is suffering for it. For any of you that are from Port Edwards, you realize that the economy there was fairly rich, but you had to transfer to the communities around you to do most of your shopping because you didn't have a grocery store. Okay, you didn't have a gas station. You didn't have your own municipal buildings. Okay, all of that's gone. You have remnants of things left over from the loss of that industry. And that's something that Wisconsin Rapids has not entirely accepted yet. While our paper industry is gone, our community, our administration hasn't realized that we have lost that revenue. It's gone. We cannot continue to operate our community as if we still have that money flow within our economy. We have to take cuts to become more fiscally responsible with taxpayer dollars. So last night's meeting for the draft one, if you will, for the city of Wisconsin Rapids budget was not very positive. Now, again, in these videos, I said, as a member of Wisconsin Rapids, we can look at everything as positive as you want to. But if you look at the facts, our community is suffering. Our population, our commercial businesses, and our industry, along with the amount of money that we are able to spend as a city administration here in Wisconsin Rapids, is not there. Excuse my terminology here, but if you don't have the cash, you can't cash the check. So what we have found through this draft one, if you will, is that Wisconsin Rapids is over budget. We cannot continue to operate or extend the current year 2025 into 2026. It was a suggestion by a couple members of our administration, but you can't without actually making cuts. So again, like I said, Wisconsin Rapids has not necessarily accepted our fate. We have to realize that in order to start over, and that's exactly what our community has to do, planning for future projects, identifying things that are the difference between assets and liabilities, we have to identify them and we have to remove the things that cost more money. Now, obviously, there are things within every state's regulation that we still have to receive as a public. We still have to have water, we still have to have infrastructure, so on and so forth, all dictated by state government. But when it comes down to our municipality, our city, there's a lot of cuts that are coming. Now, we have postponed, maybe some of those cuts to area businesses or functioning departments within our city administration, or for instance, I'm thinking right now about the library. There was cuts proposed in the past, and it upset many members in our community. Okay, for approximately $175,000 that they wanted to cut from the library budget. It was negotiated. We kind of came to terms of like, no, we're going to keep doing it. And between last year and this year, that amount has increased by about $40,000. So, folks, it's time for Wisconsin Rapids to bite the bullet. Accept that our community is suffering. We do not have an economy to continue to keep having the government the size that it is right now. Approximately 250 employees. Projects, then in order to do some of our infrastructure projects, we have to borrow money. It can't be covered within our levy limit dollars. We have to look at departments like the fire department, police department, and street departments of how much money is going into them. Now, if you are not able to watch the budget meeting last night, and I don't blame you, many people do not find that very interesting. As a concerned citizen of Wisconsin Rapids, I'm not necessarily concerned about my own situation. If prices go up, I can choose to just leave and move away to a more affordable conditions or so on and so forth. But that's not the reason why I've stayed in Wisconsin Rapids for so many years. I've had multiple opportunities to leave. Within the recent years, the different changes that have gone on within our city crews and our way our government is operating, and even underneath the loss of that industry, I have been part of it. So a member of our city administration called me out online today. I'm not going to mention names. I had not mentioned their specific position within our city administration. I had not gotten anything online as far as being a personal attack towards the individual, nothing. But they felt the needs to defend our city administration. Okay? Thank God we're in the, the month of free speech. Okay? You have the right to your opinion. But realize many of our community, even though they had the right to their opinion, right to voice their concerns, they were either forced out of their homes, forced to find different jobs and leave our community, and uproot their families to move to more beneficial communities. Because the way that our government and our industry has been evolving. So, in our city administration, depending on who you are, no matter what position you're in, a lot of the position is based off of trust. Do you trust the individuals around you? Okay? At the end of my list here, we're going to get into my qualifications, I guess if you want to call it, the experience that I would be bringing with me into the position of mayor of Wisconsin Rapids, since I was questioned on it. But if you can't trust the individuals around you, your production is not going to be good. So there are multiple members within our city administration that even currently do not get along. So we have individuals leaving their offices. We have individuals seeking employment at different communities because we do not have a goal that all of our city administration agrees to. There's debates going on between the departments arguing over monies from the budget. It's always been that way because there is no leader. Now, along with that, again, if I were to be elected into office here in Wisconsin Rapids, I have an eye on a few positions, okay, approximately a half dozen positions here in Wisconsin Rapids that need to be eliminated. For the simple fact that if I were to move into that position and be elected as mayor of Wisconsin Rapids, I could not trust them to do their jobs. No matter what their business portfolio might read, or that they have a clean record of their service to our community, they are individuals that I could not trust to do the job that I would have to be carrying through. So there are definitely positions here in Wisconsin Rapids, and once again, I'm not going to name exactly which ones. There are positions in Wisconsin Rapids that I would eliminate and replace with individuals that I do trust. So I've been receiving some of the backlash out of those individuals online, once again, kind of calling me out. What's my experience, so on and so forth. We'll be getting to that. But realize if we do not have members in our city administration that can be trusted, they need to go. Because the public depends on our city administration to represent them and make the best choices for them, no matter who it upsets. Now, with the budget last night, there was multiple examples of where Wisconsin Rapids has money sitting aside for maybe a rainy day fund, overestimating for some things so that they have a surplus of money that might be laying around. And that money is sitting in a bank just like any one of us that has a savings account. It collects interest. Governments also do that. So while they are paying their quarterly amounts towards the next budget, they have collected all those taxpayer dollars. At one time, they've received it through the tax levy limit. As we're spending it, that money stays in a savings account and it makes interest. And depending on which department they put it into, there are different ways that they can collect more money. And that interest they collect from that do not have the same restrictions as permitted under the state's direction for taxpayer dollars or the levy limit dollars. So again, Tim Dorsey, our city economic specialist, let's call it that, is very good with numbers. Okay? He wouldn't be in a position unless he had the qualifications to have the position. He's proven throughout the years that he can deal with money, deal with numbers, and where it counts as far as decisions of where it's being paid out to, the city council has to know that. They have to be presented with the most factual information and realize the situation we're in and determine where money has to be cut or where it's going to still be funded. Many of our city council and people within our administration will fib on some of the numbers. They will argue over them, saying that, we can do this on our own for a lot cheaper than what we would have to pay somebody else. Okay? Or if we are part of a county organization, we can get our insurance a little bit cheaper. At the end of this list, I'm going to get into some of my previous employment to show you the experience I would be bringing into office. Okay? And that will have to deal with insurance because once again, being an individual that has had to purchase my own private health insurance or any insurance by that fact over my lifetime, I know exactly how insurances work. And I know ways to find it cheaper. Our TID district and TIF money, some dates were thrown out of when that is coming to an end. Any of the money that has been promised to a project, I believe, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong a little bit on this one, Tim, if I'm not correct, that amount has to be spent by 2027. Okay, even though it's been approved to be spent, it has to be spent by the end of 2027. Now, the question came up from Jake Catnall is, have we renewed our TIF district? No. We are still working under the original plan of the TID district. Okay? The funds that were allotted within that time frame are still promised to projects that haven't occurred. or they're still in process to the point where that money has been set aside, approved by our city administration, city council, and it has yet to be completed. Now, our TID district, does anybody in Wisconsin Rapids, when you get a map of our community, do you see a specific region on our engineering maps of what is included? Hold on. Be right back. Sorry about that. There was some little unrest up by the corner of my yard, which we'll be getting into in just a minute with civil unrest. But I left off on, is the actual TID district map available for the public to see? Or is it something you have to go request at City Hall? It's very unclear to the public who's actually within inside of that limit. Unless they're receiving tax documents to say that you're in this TID district, that your tax dollars are going to be kept in this area, do you know exactly which one of your properties are included with it? Now, campaign promises. Individuals normally avoid making any kind of promises because if they don't uphold them, they can be used against you. So in order to work around that, individuals come out and say, I just want to be part of the conversation, that I don't actually want to take the lead and hold the responsibility if the projects or the plans fail, that it can be put on my shoulders. That is what we currently have. We have individuals that just want to be part of the conversation and they want to have that authority, but yet they don't necessarily want to stand behind their results. They want to pass the buck on other people. That's a fact, ma'am. So again, campaign promises. Many people avoid them. I am not shy with the campaign promises that I will make. I will be relieving individuals with our city administration that are not performing as expected by the public, no matter who that might upset. I will not accept endorsements. Again, many individuals realize that the mayor's position here in Wisconsin Rapids is a nonpartisan position, but a lot of the individuals are influenced with their party linings. Can anybody identify what my party line is? Who I associate with? It's about the benefit of the citizens, right? That's my campaign promise, is that every decision I make from the mayor's seat is going to be for the entire population of Wisconsin Rapids, not the select few special interest groups. Now, I've been made aware, I knew this going into the meeting, that I did not make friends with our local realtors association, or excuse me, landlords association. And I was honest about it. As soon as I went to the meetings, I was like, folks, I'm not going to make any friends here. Because we have so many issues here in Wisconsin Rapids of where rental properties are in worse condition than the residential properties that are owned by individual homeowners. And the increased value that is brought with rental properties increases the value of the homes that are owned by individual homeowners. Now, because of the amount of properties here in Wisconsin Rapids that are rental properties, it has given an unfair balance to where it is not beneficial to our entire population. everybody's complaining about the 25% property tax increase that we received in Wisconsin. Realize that our rental properties increase our property values above that amount every single year. It's beneficial to the landlords that are in debt through the banks, so on and so forth, within their equity that they're building. But that is not a benefit to our entire community. So within my campaign promises, I also know answers. I know what I would do to answer the question of what we can do to address affordable housing here in Wisconsin Rapids. I have the plan. Not only within property values, but how much you are being taxed as a property owner according to the state's direction. So 100% legally, using the law that we already have to determine our exact property values. And one of them that will be included is depreciation. Before anybody says that's not one of the 5 criteria from our state, ask anybody that's in industry that works with insurance companies, once again, that if they purchase a machine, every year that it ages, it loses value. It depreciates in value. Our homes, the actual home structures, depreciate in value over time. The land is directly connected to the market. So if houses are being sold in the market in Wisconsin at a higher amount, your land values will go up. Your property values can go up, but at the same time, the depreciation will balance out the actual tax value. Now, we have left it, the previous administrations have left it up to an individual to only use one criteria, the market-driven assessment value of our properties, to determine our tax collections here in Wisconsin Rapids. Our city administration voted for that, past and present. Campaign promise. The way that we assess properties will be done on a yearly basis, the most accurate way that we possibly can here in Wisconsin Rapids. My experience coming into this. As a previous home inspector, I have set foot in over 2,000 homes over a 4-year period as being a home inspector. Now, I did not work for the realtors. I was completely independent of them. I worked for insurance companies. So even after the home was purchased by a bank and they had their assessment done, any of my customers that asked us, hey, let's have you come and inspect this home, tell us if the value of the home is actually there, where some troublesome areas are, where some of the equipment inside of the home might be reaching its life expectancy or beyond its life expectancy, how many years are left on the roof, what kind of electrical we have into the home, whether it's legal or not, to the type of piping that is in the home and the life expectancy out of that, to the actual air quality in a home, to where the home is sealed up and monitors are driven on each floor of the home to actually test the quality of the air. Now, through those air tests, you can pick up microscopic pollutants. So whether if there was ever drugs done in the home, or if there's mold behind a freshly painted wall, that's all picked up by this air monitoring system. So as a home inspector, I was qualified to do those type of tests. And when I would get back to my customers and give them the actual documentation proving the condition of the homes, it was always lower than what the realtors had the home listed at, lower than market value. Because everything inside of the structure of a home depreciates in value. So in campaign promises, I would institute new ways that are recognized nationally of how each one of our individual properties is assessed for their value, and depreciation would be included. Using all of the criteria demanded by the state of Wisconsin or recognized by the state of Wisconsin. Once again, my home inspection training came from the state of Wisconsin. I was certified a home inspector in the state of Wisconsin. Other campaign promises. Folks, as we're losing all of our industry, our population does not have the jobs to offer to families, those raising families. We have plenty of job opportunities for entry-level, part-time employment all over the place. We have seasonal work right now with the cranberry industry. But one place we're not short on as far as employment is within our city government. We have a lot of employees to maintain our municipal. How are we per capita compared to other communities, or what is being demanded by the state? In my campaign promise, I will be bringing that into attention. How can we address it? Once again, I'm not going to make everybody happy, especially those that work for the city government of Wisconsin Rapids. The purpose for getting elected in office is to be a representative of the entire population, not to guarantee job security to our government employees. So, we have to identify that we have the displaced employment. And this we're going to get into my job qualifications for running as mayor of Wisconsin Rapids. Now remember, an individual of our city administration called me out on this, basically saying, don't have education, don't have any experience in this, so on and so forth. First, we have elected individuals at the age of 21. With the only schooling they had was through political science, with very small entrepreneur type business that didn't make and clear $100,000 a year, ran our city for 4 terms. Creating an illusion that Wisconsin Rapids was doing just fine, that we're adapting to change. We also elected an individual that was corrupted in office. And I will raise my hand right now. I voted for him to oust the previous mayor that had served for 4 terms. I chose the worst of the 2 evils. Why are we getting to the point where our population has to choose the best of the 2 evils? Our community needs to be able to have a representative that is there for them, that has no hidden agenda, plans of, oh, I'm going to be able to put this on my resume in the future and go get a job someplace else or in another municipality, or to advance to a league and get paid for doing even less work, as our former administrators have. I'm not looking for any personal benefit out of running for mayor of Wisconsin Rapids. It is to make our community better for everyone. Now, a little bit about my unemployment. As I've been raised and worked here in Wisconsin Rapids since I was 11 years old, since the year of 87, I believe, was the first year I received a W-2. You heard that right. 11 years old, I started working here in Wisconsin Rapids. I serviced the west side, the major portion of the west side of Wisconsin Rapids, delivering the newspaper, both the Daily Tribune and the Buyer's Guide. Sorry, it's no longer around. They call it City Times now. From the age of 11 to approximately 14, I delivered newspapers to over 400 homes on the west side of Wisconsin Rapids and businesses. Even to the Little Pink Restaurant here in Wisconsin Rapids with Marvin Helen. Got to know them on a daily basis, delivering the newspaper to their door. Now, approximately 14 years old, obviously labor law is kind of kicking at that point where with adult permission, you can start working more jobs. So one of the very first jobs was in construction. So for the remainder of my life, I had different construction jobs to where I was either doing remodeling, building brand new buildings, to the point where I actually started working for a local lumber company where I was in sales. They had to know all the products going into residential, commercial, or industrial applications. That business was put out of business because of a loud competition that came into Wisconsin Rapids. When Menards and Home Depot came into Wisconsin Rapids, it was great because we had more options, but we don't realize that all of the lumber yards here in Wisconsin Rapids, with one remaining to this day within Metcalf Lumber, they've all closed down because local businesses cannot compete with very large businesses that are ordering train loads of lumber. So I do know the competition and the threat that it brings into our community. If we have local businesses that have been in our community for a long period of time and we agree to bring in direct competition to them, we threaten our own residents' businesses. One example I can give to you is our members that own the tool shed here in Wisconsin Rapids. They are selling the exact same kind of tools and equipment that are offered by Harbor Freight. But yet we attracted a contractor to bring Harbor Freight into Wisconsin Rapids. How long is it before Jerry and his employees at the tool shed are out of business? Now, approximately at the age of 14, I went to work for Walmart as a seasonal worker. Yes, folks, I worked at Walmart. Very first year, I was put in toys. Within that 3 months of being a seasonal worker, I was tagged to multiple different departments. So between toys, sporting goods, and garden, lawn and garden, I had received experience in all 3 of those departments. I was the night manager, if you want to call it that. The individuals that had that 9 to 5 job during the day at Walmart, they're the ones that kind of did all the management and so on and so forth. But after hours, there would only be one person to cover multiple departments. That just happened to be me. Proving that I had enough knowledge and trust to be able to operate multiple departments. Stocking the shelves, working with customer relations, selling firearms, even to the point one year, because of another job that I had, I even got a little piece of metal in my eye that I had to have surgery on. So during the middle of hunting season, rifle hunting season, folks, I had to write out hunting license, the days before it became digital. I wrote out approximately 800 hunting or fishing license with a patch over my eye. I learned how to become ambidextrous out of that. Now, while I was working at Walmart, again, that first year was seasonal, okay? Obviously, the seasonal workers are left go after the Christmas or the busy time of the year. And if you did a good job during that time, they would call you back for further employment. By June, I had received a call back from Walmart asking me to come back to again manage both our seasonal, toys, and sporting goods department when it was located in the old location next to the YMCA, the old Rapids Mall location. Now, out of that, I dealt with the public on a daily basis, multiple times. I dealt with very large competitors, whether it's in the automotive industry, the toy industry, to seasonal equipment. Okay? Now, am I comparing a job at Walmart to being the mayor of Wisconsin Rapids? Yes, it does transfer over because it doesn't matter who the customer is. Your job is to take care of them. No matter what their political leaning is, so on and so forth. It's to provide the best product and the best service that you can possibly do because you are wearing the Walmart name tag. You are representing something bigger than you. No different than the mayor of Wisconsin Rapids. He is the elected official to represent the citizens of Wisconsin Rapids, not his personal agenda or any special interest that comes by. Now, at approximately, again, at 14, 15 years old, I was working construction. I had stopped delivering paper, so I was still working construction, working at Walmart. And then on free days that I wasn't on the schedule for those employers, I also worked at Midas during the day on Saturdays, typically until noon. For those of you that have never heard of Midas before, they're kind of like Meineke, Midas, the exhaust brake specialist. It's where the previous building was where CVS is here in Wisconsin Rapids today. That was my introductory into the automotive industry. So before even graduating high school, I had already completed AC certification through a local college in order to be an AC certified technician to work on brakes and exhaust. Now again, for the experience, the exhaust, you had to know EAP regulations. When to identify a bad catalytic converter to exhaust system and be able to replace it with stuff that would pass emission standards. Brakes. If you're a mechanic and you screw up somebody's brakes and they get in an accident, who has to know about the liabilities behind that? The mechanic. Okay? Now this is by age 15, okay? Age 15, then on top of that, I also started working at an automotive parts dealership. It was known at that time as being All Car. It became Bumper to Bumper later on. I worked with John. Maybe some of you know John from the community. John and Mary. Very wealthy individuals, very involved with our local Elks Club. As a teenager, I worked for them and their son at the parts dealer. Again, I worked there until they closed doors. At times of my high school career, I worked for 4 different employers. Saving as much money as I possibly could to do some of the special interests that I had. Well, I'm way over. Sorry, folks, real quick. I'm going to have to download this to YouTube and then share it back to Facebook so you can watch it. Actually, right there, I'm going to break it. I'll have to do this YouTube, but I'm going to have to come back. I went way over time for Facebook. So with that, we're going to get back to some of my employment, some of my experience that would prepare me to run for mayor of Wisconsin Rapids. Be right back.